Alan is not only part of our 4-figure-a-month club, he is also part of our 5-figure-a-month club. What? What? That's awesome! Congratulations, Alan!
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne.
And you guys, so I want you to really put this in context, okay? So this is 5 figures, at least 3 months, right? So it's this is something that he's continually doing and able to do, and isn't just a one-time fluke thing, right? This is an ongoing thing. I mean, that can bring you on into. Have you made with your business yet? Have you made 6-figure year yet?
Yeah, last year was the first year that I made 6 figures, and I'm on track this year. We'll kind of see how the rest of the months go, but yeah, I like the first half of the year I went past my goals. So the second half of the year I can I should be on track. I set like last year I set 100,000 as my goal, and then this year I set 120,000 as my goal. So it's kind of
Wow. All right. So I'm curious, when you hit that you hit that very first 5-figure month, what was the response of your wife?
I think she's been really supportive, and so I think she knew I would get there, and she I really handled a lot of the finances part, but she knew it was getting more and more, and I was increasing my rates and still being really busy. So she knew, she was really happy that that I was being so successful at it, and she's been really supportive. She knew I would be able to do it. Just that, just the confidence, I think, and there's always I see no matter how much success you have, there's always a little bit of a fear, oh, you raise your rates, is it gonna happen again the following year? Because it's you get a lot of students, and then the next year you might have to recruit a few more students, depending on some of my kids, they tend to age out pretty quickly where I'm at, and so I don't keep students for many years. So then there's sort of even this year I'm in ramping up, filling in slots that I have. But
and there is anxiety that comes with that, isn't there?
Sure. Of course.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who are, even though people are able to have 5-figure months, it doesn't mean that anxiety goes away. So know that that's just a normal feeling. If you're experiencing it and you haven't hit 4 figures yet, you haven't hit 5 figures yet, those are normal anxieties that you just have to push through and know that you absolutely can make it happen. Now, you've been part of the Insider Secrets Club you were a part of the club before we even had Jumpstart.
Yeah, I had done the Jumpstart when you were piloting it, I think, for the Insider Secrets Club group. Yeah, it's been a few years now. I forget. I can remember the timeline of joining your ultimate group, and then I was like, well, I'll pay whatever the monthly fee is to see what the other group's about, and if I learn anymore. And I remember talking about it with my wife. She's like, look, and we were talking about the price of it and the cost, and she's like, look, I mean, and she tells me this a lot of times. She's like, this part of your business that you're trying to grow, if it's not worth this amount of money, then this is not going to go anywhere, right? Your business is not going to go anywhere.
Right, because you get stuck with where you're at. You only know what you know.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so then to continue to invest in your business and say, okay. And at the end of the day, when it comes to professional groups, it's hardly anything compared to other professional groups that are out there, hundreds, thousands of dollars a month and all that kind of stuff. It can get above a tutor's budget for sure. But to put something into place that can really help you grow your business, it can do it. So what are some things that have been useful for you as you've been a member of the Insider Secrets Club?
I think connecting, I think it's, especially when you're online tutor, it's really, you're kind of on your own a lot. So I think connecting with, networking with other tutors has been really big. And I've said this before when I've been on here, it's yes, you can network with Ultimate. And I have networked with people in that group. And I think that's a huge part. You help other, you give a good advice, whoever, and they found me through that. And networking is like a huge like benefit for me. The insider secret, I feel like, is people who are um very everyone in that group is very serious about their business because they've made an investment into themselves and monetarily to be like, look, I really want to be very proactive about growing my business. It's not something I'm just like trying out, or I'm really trying to like improve my business and keep working at it. And
Yeah.
so like you network with some very, successful people who are growing. It's a mix, but people who are all very serious about their tutoring business.
Hmm.
That can get you. There's definitely people like that in the ultimate group and in your audience, of course. But
Yeah.
there's like so many posts. There's so many people in the group. I get a lot of random friend requests from people that I don't even know, like from the group,
Yeah.
I think. And so like it's hard to network with someone when I don't know who they are. But with the insiders group, I know a lot of the people. I know the kinds of things they're working on, and I know their character a lot more. So
You
that when it comes
do.
to
Yeah.
networking and referring students, is a lot easier to go through the people you know, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I think that is the cool part about the Insider Secrets Club. It is a smaller elite group of people who are diehard serious about growing their business, staying on top of the marketing strategies that will work. And some of the strategies, they are definitely more long-term strategies. Jumpstart was all about like, okay, let's jumpstart this, right? Let's get students, because the one thing that's holding you back is just not tutoring enough online. So let's get out of our head. Let's do it. Let's get students. Let's get as many students in the door as we possibly can. And then we begin to learn how to have some more long-term approaches to our marketing that will continue to get us found. And sometimes we take a slower approach with it versus that quick, let's get things up and going, like as of yesterday. Right.
Yeah.
And I know you haven't, because you've been so busy, you haven't been able to log into like when we do the trainings and that kind of stuff, but you've been able to watch some of them on the backside in Kajabi where I store them. What's
Yeah.
that been like for you?
It's been really good. So Joanne like puts out, if you guys don't know, she puts on a crazy amount of courses about blogging and Instagram and stuff like that. And like, and I'm kind of I pick and choose the kinds of things that I want to work on
Yep.
because I don't have a lot of time, and I have a vision of like where I want the business to go at this point. In the beginning it was just like, well, I'll become a tutor, make enough money and stuff like that. But now I'm at a stage where it's like, so I'm focusing on a lot of courses. I think you know that, Joanne. And so I watched your content on creating courses, and it really, like, after I went through it, I was like, oh, okay, it made me really refocus and like think about what I wanted to emphasize on, rather than
Mm-hmm.
like split up too many things. And so I really this year, after that, I really am pushing to do marketing for courses and creating the courses, and like finding ways to enhance that a little bit in the business. So
Yeah.
that's been good. You have great blogging stuff. I don't really have time. Blogging is just not one of the things that I like do a big part of. So Suzanne has great stuff. It's just not like the thing that I'm in. I do a lot more YouTube and making videos and things
Yep.
like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's the cool thing about it all is that you do start really figuring out like where are your strengths, what do you have time for, what are you going to put as part of your marketing plan. You don't have to put everything as your marketing plan. Like that's going to spread you so wide, so thin. And I think you're kind of in the same place I see a lot of tutors get to once they build their business to the point where they continually book themselves solid. They begin thinking bigger. And I love that in the Insider Secrets Club. We
Yeah.
don't have small thinkers. And they start thinking about how can I add some additional side incomes in as well to bring in some residual income. And that will help too as well when we have, because it's a roller coaster, the whole tutoring industry, isn't it?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And there's a point where it's like, there's this, because you come at a crossroads when you kind of get to a point. You can keep raising your rates, which I have, but at some point, I know a lot of you guys are teachers and you guys want to like help more students and don't want to necessarily cater to just wealthy. That's kind of like an area, so you can hire more tutors, right? And so you've talked about that in the past before. That's kind of like not really I don't know, like where I want the business necessarily to focus on. I felt like I've been building a brand around me, so that's why. But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You get to a point where you're trying to like, well, what's the direction that the business needs to head. And I think that's like really why I'm continuing to be part of the group, is because I still need to grow certain things, and I still like to help other tutors, and I want to, and I also still have a lot to learn about what aspects I want to grow and what I want to focus on.
Yeah, there's definitely that place that we get to where we're trying to get clarity,
Yeah.
right? And being able to say, okay, what is right for me? Because, for the longest time, adding more tutors, I was like, no, like I was totally against it. I'm like, no, that's not where I want to go with my business at all. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I started just kind of analyzing it and thinking, but I could be serving more people. I could be helping more kids. And so that's where, I'm giving it a go. We're going to see how it goes, and adding on more students,
That's great.
and helping more people see. But then I also have the course creation and those kinds of things. And I think once you really like take on one new thing, you can get good at other things as well. And that continues to bring up that income. So it no longer has to be just income from you doing tutoring hours, because when you're booked solid, what happens tell people, because some people don't know, like what happens when you get booked solid?
Well, I mean, you turn down a lot of students at that point. You try to squeeze in. I mean, for a while when you're hustling, you're trying to squeeze in students. I'm trying to accommodate. So, every year would happen. I would start off with like a set schedule, be like, these are the hours I want to work. And then as I get filled up, and then like other students are like, okay, well, maybe I can squeeze in here. Like last year, I did a second shift from like 8:30, sometimes to 11:30 at night, because I couldn't fit the students in during the normal hours I wanted to work. And I didn't really want to do it on the weekends too much with my kids. So I was like, well, after the kids go to bed, I can do some more work. But it really does burn you out. You really can't spend time to focus on growing or focusing on other things, and it is pretty draining to tutor that many hours. So I've been gradually cutting back like what I want to schedule, so I can devote time to the business areas that I want to grow in.
And then will those other students come on in that you can't say no to? I struggle with that so much. Like I've hit that 5-figure a month as well, Mark. I've hit that 6-figure year as well. And you do get to another point where you're like, oh my gosh, I love what I do every single day, but maybe I took on too many students.
Yeah.
Just maybe. And then, you're at the end of the day, like, you're just like, your head can't think anymore. But, these are little problems when you consider, when we first got started, right? The bigger fears that we had, like, sure, will this work, or all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like we just kind of think like, yeah, like this is amazing. I had my daughter's boyfriend come up to me the other day and he's like, you work on Labor Day? I was like, when you have your own business, you get to decide what days you want to take off. Exactly. Labor Day is not that important to me. Of all this, yes, I'll take off Christmas. Yes, I'll take off a week at Christmas time. Yes, I take a summer off, but there are certain days where it's like, just because the rest of the world is taking the day off doesn't mean that I need to. Plus, my students aren't at school, so it's not like they really have too much that's competing for their attention. So, right. Yeah. So it's been awesome. It's been awesome getting to see you on this journey, because you are so helpful in our community. When people ask questions and you know the answer, you're right there. You'll help with answering those questions, and you always seem to make time for the community. And I think that's what makes the people in the community so amazing, is that they are really in this, like you said, like for the long haul. Like this is a profession now. Like, how does that feel, that you're part of this new era, that like independent tutoring is a profession?
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking when you were going to ask about this 4-figure a month. I was looking back on like where I started, right? When I first started I was dabbling in online tutoring, and I had gone with a platform to just try to get students. And I was looking at like, oh yeah, it was like $14 an hour. So they were paying for online tutors. And this is like a calculus students and stuff like that, pretty high level math things, that was, getting $14 an hour. And that's kind of where I had started out. And I looked at, that was like 2017. And then each year, as it's pushed to grow and grow and grow and more. And I think like yes, I probably would have gotten here eventually because I was persistent enough at it. But like, I think like all the advice about raising rates and feeling like you're kind of a fraud of like just increasing your rates, or you feel like you're not worth it, or you shouldn't pay that. Like, and all those doubts. I think like it made this. I'm just amazed how quickly it went actually from 2017 to now, in terms of like how much the revenue and the rates and everything like that just like took off after I joined the group.
Yeah.
So it's been yeah, I'm just like I tell people I feel super blessed about everything. When the pandemic hit, I was like, look, I've been online tutoring several years before this. The kids
Hmm.
are home now all the time, so I can like, work whenever. And I just felt like I feel super blessed about like so many things about the
Yeah.
way that I work now.
Yeah, because pandemic hit, I had a lot of people asking me like, "Oh, how has the pandemic affected your business?" And it was like, "Well, I got more students." Like, like,
Yeah.
are you looking for me to say that it went negative or like down? But you were probably already booked by March 2020. March is a pretty booked month for you for the most part. Did you lose any of your students because of the pandemic, or did they just all continue on with you?
No, I only had at the time I had out of my 25 students, I had three in-person students, and so those switched to online and they stayed
Great.
online and they're still online. Well, some of them have finished, so I don't tutor them anymore, but yeah, they stayed online and they were happy with it. Um, yeah, I didn't really notice anything. I was too full. I don't think people were seeking out a lot because like right when that hit, it felt like the schools just kind of like stopped a little bit, and like then nothing happened. The following year, this past year, then it was bad. But at the end of the school year, people were just like, well, last few months of school, we're not doing school really, so just kind
Yeah.
of everything just kind of just halted. I had AP students and they were still going to do AP exams in this really weird format. So I still stuck. So a lot of I didn't really lose any students. They all kind of like stayed on to finish out the semester. But
Sure.
I didn't, it's not like a whole bunch came in, I think, because that was like end of the year.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. And are you seeing now any kind of COVID learning loss with your students?
Um, I don't know about learning loss. I would say of last year, especially like for physics, the people who didn't get to do a physical lab have a little bit less intuition about what's happening, because that's an area of in their schooling, an actual lab, taking measurements and setting up an experiment is like a helpful thing that I haven't really set up to do online, and I wasn't
Yeah.
really intending to, and the teachers of those schools had those setup kind of things, but I feel like that part is like a little bit less intuitive for them. I would say mental health is probably more the biggest thing that my students had than like learning loss. Like
Yeah.
generally my kids are old enough that the online schooling was like fine for them, but like in terms of like learning the material, but the mental health was definitely like for the teenagers, the high school students, like I think that was pretty tough on them.
Yeah, for sure. And what were their thoughts like? Because we were kind of like this. We were like this extra special little treat for some of these kids because they would go to school in person and they come with us online. Did you
Mhm.
find that they were getting like Zoom fatigue at all as they were coming on in now for their Zoom session with you, or did they seem to be fine?
They seem to be mostly fine. I didn't notice anything in particular that was different. I thought, yeah, I felt like everything like that was fine. Just some of the students are just like really having hard days and not feeling well. And it was all mental health. I can tell you how many
Uh,
students, parents tend to confide in me a lot, and just about like, oh, looking for therapy, looking for maybe more medication, even if they need to, because
sure.
they're kind of really struggling.
Yeah.
And I could tell some days that like they would be like, I could tell like something happened and it wasn't a good good moment. I had a girl, we were finishing up a session. She was mostly fine, but at the beginning of the session, she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm crying," and stuff like that. And I'm like, "It's fine. Take a minute. Like it's okay. You
Yeah.
doing all right?" We just talked a little bit before we started the session, and then but so I could. Those are the bigger struggles, I think,
Yeah.
for my students.
Alan, your students are so blessed to have you, and I'm so glad that you left that job that you did not like to do something that you love. It's amazing. So, for those of the people that don't know what you did, what did you do before you started tutoring?
I was a electrical engineer, so I was
Mm-hmm.
a consultant, and I didn't say I didn't like the job, just I was good at it. I worked hard at it. I was content at it, I would say, but it definitely wasn't something I really, really loved to do. And as a consultant, what I was working on is like energy efficiency programs for the government, like how to make more. If you think about Energy Star on your appliances and things like those programs are run by the EPA and the Department of Energy. So we
Mm-hmm.
would work on a lot of those things about like, well, how does something get an Energy Star? What is it? What are the requirements? And they move the requirements. So when you see a refrigerator has Energy Star, they've been saying like, oh, you have to be the top 10%. Well, what's the top 10%? We do a lot of analysis and things like that. And I was content with it. I was good at it. I managed a team of engineers. Remotely. I worked from home still, so there was nothing particularly bad about it. Just that I love the tutoring so much
Yeah.
more. I love
Yeah.
helping kids a lot more.
And this is where you're meant to be. And it definitely shines through. Anybody who's on the fence about like joining, like they finished Jumpstart and they're thinking about joining Insider Secrets Club, what would you say to them?
I would say if you look at the cost of anything, like think about where you want to be and what it would have to be worth, like what you would get out of it in terms of like just the cost of anything. Like for example, like I'll talk about something different. This year I invested $1,000 a year into Thinkific, which is the course platform
Hmm.
that I'm hosting the courses. I use Kajabi. I ended up using Thinkific. I think I just like the setup a little bit better for me. So that was like $1,000, right? I know it sounds like a lot. That's a lot of money, right? There's not a small amount of money. I don't by any means think so. This, even though I make whatever I make, that's still a good amount of money. But for me, my vision of the future is if I can't make that $1,000 back, then the courses is not the future for me,
Right.
right? Like if like I'm investing because I think that this is the future of my business, and I expect it, and I want it to bring in eventually at least 20,000 a year, right? And so
Right.
like I have to think of it that way as an investment of like what you want, where you want the business to go, and what you want to get out of it. And it just depends on where you are in terms of what you think. But I don't know what you charge for the Insider Secrets Club or what the thing is. But whatever you're deciding to spend money on, you have to decide like how big of that part of my business is I expected to be, and where do I want that business to be. And if I'm out, so if the course doesn't go anywhere and I'm out $1,000, I'm out $1,000, and that hurts. But like the upside is what I'm really aiming for. Where do I want it to be? So
Yeah.
people who are like kind of on the fence and not sure would be people are like, I don't know if I'm going to do tutoring as a
Sure.
business, right? Like, but if you want your tutoring business to be like 50,000 a year, then like you have to think about it like what are you gonna spend, and what are you gonna work on to get you to that point?
Right. Right. Exactly. Whether it be the Insider Secrets Club or something else, because
Yeah.
we only know what we know. It can't take us to the next level. So you want to be surrounded by people that are getting success, have built those businesses. And sometimes we're not going to get that kind of support from the people around us. They're not experiencing the same thing as us, and they have a different perspective. So, if you
Yeah.
want to keep motivated and all of that stuff, then join us. I just want to say thank you so much, Alan, for joining us today and sharing your story about, you making it into not only the 4-figure a month club, but the 5-figure a month club. Woo! And being such an amazing rock star in our community to keep it running and have people that they really feel like they can look up to you because of what you've done, and you're a huge motivation to them. So thank you for being who you are.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for making this group, the community. I think this is an amazing community that you work hard to build, and I'm really grateful for it.
Oh, I appreciate that.